sometimes from undisclosed sources. Sometimes, for this one, I cannot say no or yes because I've not been in those closed-door meetings where they discuss those issues. But, when I look at the Standard, particularly, it's owned by Gideon Moi or something.
So you feel that this is a sponsored headline, Bwana Fwamba?
Yes.
But they say where there is smoke, there's definitely fire. And we did see the former president. And optics, when it comes to politics, photo op can speak 1,000 words.
I think very interesting media or news headlines attract more readership. So that's what I'll conclude. Because why would they report this today and yet the meeting between Uhuru Kenyatta, Kalonzo Musyoka, and Obasanjo happened more than a month ago? So why would they wait for all this time and then report today? Yet in my opinion, these are crafted headline. But again, in politics, anything is possible. But if I look at some of the things that happened during the Azimio demonstrations, when some people were in government and some of us had lost elections and were out of government, I do not think if there will be any basis of former President Uhuru Kenyatta embracing the impeached former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua at the expense of working in the best interest of the country.
Yet we can see
the problem. One of the problems we have in this country, I don't like saying this thing, especially about President Uhuru Kenyatta, because I worked under him for 8 years when I was an advisor to Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa. But I think people who have served, especially at the high level of presidents like President Uhuru Kenyatta, should also give room for other people to lead the country in the best way that they can. Because President Uhuru Kenyatta,
who are you talking about here?
Time, he served. And now this is the time for President William Ruto steering the country towards prosperity.
You seem to be referring to a certain person. Who is this person you're talking about? Who worked under Uhuru Kenyatta?
President Uhuru Kenyatta is in retirement, right?
We've seen his party Jubilee.
Let him allow other people also to lead.
We've seen his party Jubilee working very closely with the United Opposition. His choice of candidate, Fred Matiang'i, according to the leadership of the Jubilee Party, should be running for president. We've seen that continuously they're working with the United Opposition. Don't you think that, yes, there's some truth to this?
Even if we assume that there's truth, is it the right thing in the first place? Because he is presenting, he presented Dr. Matiang'i as a project of sorts, because that's exactly what President Uhuru Kenyatta himself was in 2002. And you know how people reacted to such kind of candidature. So, what I'm seeing, and I saw even Dr. Matiang'i the other day referring to the so-called good old days when they're in government. I remember there was a time I told you, Fred, that the government that I'm part of is always good. The one that I'm not part of is bad. That's the kind of unfortunate thinking that we have in this country. That people still want us to live in the hangovers of their glory, the days of glory when they're in power, which they're trying to reclaim at the expense of national progress. So national progress is much greater than someone who has hangover of power and is still interested in getting back what they lost. There's nothing that comes out as a Mwananchi agenda as such, beyond people who miss high positions and right now they want to get back to where they were.
Okay. The story on page 4 of the Standard also talks about the love-hate relationship between Rigathi Gachagua and Uhuru Kenyatta. They've worked before, then they fell out bitterly. Any possibility that they could work together? Do you believe that that could have a game-changing effect on the elections of next year, to whatever extent?
We say that in politics there are no permanent enemies and there are no permanent friends. It's about interests that are consistent. So, in my opinion, anyone can work with anybody, depending on the shifting interests and what works for them. But I do not think ideologically President Uhuru Kenyatta, whom I hold in very high esteem, can work with Rigathi Gachagua to pursue the interests of the country, unless if they have their own interests that are selfish, that are not in the interest of the country. because ideologically they don't come from any school of thought that is common as far as governance is concerned. Even if they worked together in the past, there's no kind of thinking that is so common between the two of them. Because if you look at President Uhuru Kenyatta, he attempted to be a national leader. He was accommodative. But Rigathi Gachagua is a shareholders man. This is the man who came up with the concept that there are Kenyans with more shares, others have less shares, and others have none, referring to those of us who are in Azimio as non-shareholders.
Isn't that the same discussion?
We have no right at all in this country.
Isn't that the same discussion we're having now with ODM demanding nusu ya hiyo ng'ombe ikikatwa katikati?
The ODM people have not talked about, even if they are talking, you know, the Nusumukati language is very common with the ODM people. But they have not come out. Remember, Oburu Odinga, interestingly, keeps on talking about, we just want our share. We don't want another person's share. That's what he's been saying.
It's the same discussion about shareholding.
But now, the difference is that they want a space in government.